to help you understand how Etsy works as a platform and to deepen your understanding of how your store works with the Etsy platform. I'm going to show you how Etsy speaks to your store. And this should put some light bulbs on in your mind for your own store and how you proceed and change the way you work in your store to make more sales. So this is how the conversation goes, okay? It goes like this. This is the first thing Etsy says. In fact, it's the only thing that Etsy really asks of your store, okay? Have you sold, right? It's either yes or no. Have you sold? It's just, have you sold, right? Ever. So let's deal with the easy bit first, right? No, okay? So you haven't sold anything. So all of you fall into one of these two camps. You either have sold or you haven't. So no, you haven't sold, right? What do you think Etsy says to you now when your store returns the answer, no, I haven't sold? What do you think Etsy says to you next? It says absolutely nothing. Etsy says nothing to your store, nothing. It doesn't need to, because the answer is you've never sold. So it goes back to you. So now you have to change a no into a yes. Etsy's done. It's finished. Do you see how simple this is? You've never sold. So Etsy's done. What you've got to do is do something, right? And one of the things that I always talk about is you have to make a change in your store, okay, to make Etsy come back to your store and look at it again. And the easiest way to do that is add a listing, right? In fact, that's the only real way to make a change. Okay, so if you add a listing, then have you sold is still no, but you have made a change that Etsy must respond to. So these are responses. Okay, so over here are responses to the no answer. So you start giving Etsy reasons to come and look at your store again. And the way you start all this is add a listing. And then from there, you might add store sections, right? And from there, you might have new products, right? The answer is have you sold is still no, but once you do these things, Etsy's got to come and have another look, right? Then at some point, if you've got half an idea of what people want to buy and your products are half decent, that no turns into a yes. And then the game starts. First of all, you've got to get a yes from a no. This is how you do it. It has to come from listings, which is why I always say to you guys, have a listing plan. Try to get to 100 listings. Honestly, getting to 100 listings, or as far as you can, will develop you as a business owner and an Etsy store owner so much, which is why I say it's so important. All these people on YouTube saying there's no magic number and all this stuff. Of course there's a magic number. The magic number is getting to something meaningful that develops you as a business owner. How much development are you going to get getting to 10 listings or 5? Nothing. How much development are you going to get saying, I'm going to go to 100? I'm going to try and get to 100. You're going to get loads of development. You're going to learn an absolute mountain about your business, your production processes, finding efficiencies and ways to do things better. There's a whole ton of stuff behind why I say to get to 100 listings. People on YouTube don't get it. They don't understand how this works, right? So let's look at the yes, shall we? Let's do the fun bit. So let's look at yes. So you've made What's the conversation? What does Etsy say now to you? And it's so simple when you look at this for what it is. Have you sold? Yes. Okay, you made a sale. What does Etsy say next? This is what Etsy says. When? When did you last sell? Was it a month ago, 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, 5 minutes ago? Right? Let's look at what happens. So let's just say you sold 7 days ago. Right? Just think about this. You sold 7 days ago. So how many Etsy stores sold sooner than that? Just think of it like this, right? How many stores sold sooner than 7 days ago, right? It's going to be a huge number, right? Probably 2 million stores, something like that. Loads, right? So if 2 million stores sold sooner than 7 days ago, Etsy has 2 million better, more trustworthy alternatives to you. Because when Etsy looks at when did you sell, this is trust. So the closer you sell to today's date and today's hour and today's minute and today's second, the more Etsy trusts you and the more Etsy pushes your Etsy store to the Etsy customers. Is this penny dropping? Are the light bulbs coming on here? Right? So if you sold 7 days ago and 2 million others have sold more quickly, you know, Etsy's just not going to be that interested. If you go down to 1 day ago, right? 1 days ago, 1 day ago, right? It's not 2 million stores that are quicker than you, right? It might be, and I don't know the numbers, nobody knows the numbers, this is to show you. It might be 400,000, right? You know, I'm just illustrating the point, it's going to be lower, right? And if you took this down to an hour ago, well, this might be 70,000, right? 70,000 stores have sold in the last hour. The trust now is going way up. So Etsy is interested in these guys. It really is, because if you sold an hour ago, that means you're reliable. And when Etsy looks at have you sold, yes, but when did you sell? Guess what else it does? This is what else it does, right? It says, so it's have you sold, when, right? And this is the final piece of the puzzle. How many, right? How many did you sell, right? Because great if you sold an hour ago, but that doesn't tell the story, does it? Because if you sold an hour ago, well, when was the last time you sold before that? Ah, it was 3 days. That's not so great, is it? But what about a store that sold 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago? You see, behind when you last sold is how many. And that is the most important thing that Etsy looks at. What is your velocity? What's the speed of your sale? How many did you sell today and yesterday? Yes, it's good to get a sale, but it's much better if you've got a whole group of them, right? So you guys always say, you know, how do we get sales? I've shown you. You've got a list to turn the no into a yes, and you've got to keep listing to get more visibility and sales. That's how this works. You can't do it on 20 listings or 30. Just go and have a look for yourself at Etsy stores with small listing numbers. They don't go anywhere. Okay, you get the occasional one that does, and when they do, there's always very good reasons for it, right? So this is how Etsy talks to your store, period. Forget everything else, right? Don't buy into bestseller, shop favorites, listing favorites, any of this stuff. It's garbage. All of that is to make Etsy push you to build a better business, which actually isn't a bad thing. I'm talking about sales and visibility, right? None of those things directly affect sales and velocity. Indirectly, yes, of course, and it's good to use these metrics to push yourself, but don't buy into those metrics thinking, well, if I get these, I'm going to make more sales. You won't. You won't. Bestseller doesn't do anything for sales. It's long, it's long been known that that's the case. So, to conclude here, guys, have you sold? How fast? Okay. So how fast are you doing this? Are you doing, 1 sale a day? 5 sales a day, right? Or 50? Because how many stores are doing 1 sale a day? Nobody knows, but let's just say it's 500,000, right? How many stores are doing 5 sales a day? This will be way, way lower than that number there. How many stores are doing 5 sales a day? Might be something like that, 90,000. How many stores are doing 50 sales a day? It's probably something like that. In terms of a relationship of numbers. I don't know what these numbers are, but I can show you that once these go up significantly, the number of stores doing these numbers just drops dramatically. I know for a fact in the digital world, I build digital stores all the time. I've got a client who, in the digital world, does 200 sales a day, right? But the next person down from there is about 50 sales a day in the people I work with at the moment. That's a huge drop. There's so few people doing these numbers. So this is your goal. How fast? What can you do here? How can you get higher on these sales numbers? And as I keep telling you, it's listing, having a plan, knowing what to do with your listings, photography and video. They're the basis for all of this. All this other stuff comes afterwards. All the other stuff comes after listing, a plan, photography and video. They're the most important things. So let me know if this makes sense to you guys. It should do, and it should help you understand how Etsy works. And just to let you know, my Etsy Academy is open. I'm taking on students at the moment, and you can book in using the link on the screen now, little square pink thing that takes you to my school academy. It's an Etsy Academy, private group learning, wonderful space. We've got lovely students in there. Click on the link, watch the video, decide if it's for you, and I look forward to seeing you in there. Catch you in there, and I'll catch you in the comments. Cheers.